Welcome everybody, this is spinachstealer, here in the middle of a blood moon, back with another episode of GregTech New Horizons. So last time, I ended off saying that we're going to update to version 2.7, and I successfully did so. However, in the process, I ended up messing up my recording setup, and so as a result, I ended up recording a couple hours of footage that all kind of didn't record. Oops. So I'm gonna deal with this blood moon. Holy crap, this guy's strong. Oh boy. So I'm gonna deal with this blood moon as best as I can. And then once that is all taken care of, I will summarize what I did in those couple hours, and then we'll maybe finish off this episode with a little bit of progression. Alright, now that we are back safe and sound, let me briefly explain what happened during the corrupted recording. So, at some point during last episode, we had found some ore veins, namely lapis and redstone are the relevant ones. And the reason I bring that up is because during the 2.7 update, there is one quite notable feature that we got. And that is that ores now drop raw ore, not the block. So just like in the later versions of vanilla, different types of ore, such as like the red granite ones, it doesn't matter, they're all going to drop raw ore. And so the reason that became relevant to me is because in vanilla, this change allowed fortune on our pickaxe to apply to things like iron, whereas before it would just give the whole block and fortune wouldn't apply. So having found lapis and knowing that in Tinkers, lapis provides fortune on a tool, I decided that we should go over and mine out the lapis. And because we were mining out lapis and upgrading our pickaxe, might as well mine some redstone, which provides haste. So long story short, we did get ourselves a upgraded pickaxe. It's got full 450 lapis and so far 250 redstone on it. Now, during our mining, we ran into several caves and fought off a couple monsters, but overall it wasn't too bad and we were able to extract the ore for lapis and redstone without too much difficulty. That said, actually turning the raw ore into usable products was a little bit more complicated than I thought. For lapis, if we look up raw lapis, somewhere in here, no? Wait, actually, we have some right here, raw lapis ore. I'm sure it's in NEI, but I just cannot. So if we look at the uses for this, there's all sorts of GregTech processing stuff, but quite simply by smelting it, we would get 3 lapis lazuli. So that was no problem whatsoever. However, this raw redstone ore, it turns out that it doesn't have a simple smelting thing. Instead, we needed to use use information given to us in one of the quests, which was this one right here. And it told us that we needed to crush it twice to get this impure dust stuff, and then we would wash that in a cauldron. So, thanks to our wonderful water tank that has accumulated quite a lot of water at this point, we threw down a cauldron here and we just started filling it up with water and tossing in our dust to clean it and get some redstone. So, we got a fair bit of redstone, and not only did that let us upgrade our pickaxe, but it also let us build this ore finder wand. And because we had at some point gotten let me see if I can find the ore finder wand actually. Somewhere in here. Yeah, there it is. So we had at some point gotten a diamond ore like block from a quest, and so we threw it into the ore finder wand and went exploring. So let me just maybe head outside the house so we get the nice map view. So we went exploring quite a bit to the south, and we did find a couple bits of diamond as well as some other goodies like this village, some other structures along the way. We found some salt, again, more structures and whatnot. So overall, it was quite a valuable trip. Now, that wasn't all we did. We ended up cleaning out a couple of other quests in our quest book. So, like, we got this new bronze chest quest. Wow, that was a mouthful. Bronze chest quest. Sorry, not bronze, copper chest quest with the addition of 2.7. So we knocked that one out. And we also finally finished our animal farms quest. It's been something that we've been working on over time. You know, we have these animal pens. I've been breeding them up and killing them. And at some point we eventually managed to finish it. As a reward, I decided to take this unstable induced mattock. I'm not quite sure what the precision shears give us, and of course loot bags are awesome, but this is an unbreakable mattock with good mining levels and maybe not the best mining speed, but that's something that we can actually solve with our redstone that we found. So overall, this is a very nice upgrade to have an unbreakable mattock. If we move on to the Steam Age quests, not much has happened here. We did end up getting some books from that village that we found, but overall we're still working towards these quests. And so that's kind of the reason we were looking for those diamonds with the ore finder wand, is so that we can build this steam macerator with some diamonds. Long story short, where does that leave us? Well, I'm going to take a little bit of time and I'm going to collect some resources, going back for some of these diamonds, and I will cut back once we are ready for the next stage of progression. Alright, so I'm here mining some diamond, only to find out that it doesn't work with our iron pickaxe. We need something with redstone level harvest or better. Thankfully, we do already have the obsidian pickaxe, so hopefully that should suffice. I'm just gonna run back and grab that real quick. Okay, we're back from our mining trip, and we have obtained a small number of diamonds. So we can process these much like we process a lot of other GregTech stuff with this processing tree. But thankfully raw diamonds can be just smelted into regular diamonds. Also, apparently these have an insane burn time, so we can use them as fuel if we wanted to. I don't think we'll be doing that, but it's just funny to consider. I'm gonna go ahead and cook up 16 of these. That should be plenty of diamonds for now. And then we'll use them to go ahead and craft this steam macerator, just a bunch of bronze, diamonds, and a couple pistons. And here we go, our steam macerator is made. Now, we have ourselves a bunch of these steam machines, and I haven't done anything with them yet, but I think that's going to change right about now. So let's go ahead and start digging out an area in our basement where we can throw down these machines. Okay, I have dug out a bit of space down here. Not the entirety of the room, like we'll still expand more to the sides and such if needed. But I think this is good enough to get started. So I've run some water pipes. If it's dark in here, you can't see, but if you look at Wayla, the water tank is right up there. So I just connected the pipes up and they're automatically filling with water. And we need to connect this over to our coal boiler. And the pipes need to be connected on the bottom of the boiler, according to this quest. So I'm thinking what it would be nice to do is if we just throw up a wall, maybe I'll leave this exposed so we can work with it. If we just throw up a wall right around here, then we can take these pipes and we can run them kind of just underground. 1, 2, 3. We'll put the boiler here. And then what we can do is we can have the pipes connect underground to it. Maybe a little bit lower actually, since we're going to need a flooring in as well. But this is kind of the idea, so we'll just hook up these pipes and then just connect it all through here, and then we'll throw in a floor. Let me go ahead and craft some more pipes and we can get that done. Alright, pipes are in. I'm just gonna go ahead and cover this up with dirt for now. And then we should be able to fill this wall in. And so this does have water in, it's filling up slowly. Yep, there we go. And now what we'll do is we will throw down our steam machines kind of just like this should be fine. So if we hook this up like so, these should now fill up with steam as soon as we throw fuel into the coal boiler, and it should power our machines. Let me just toss down the rest of them. We don't have very many, but that's all right. So let me just go ahead and dig out some more space, and like the floor and stuff, and replace it with some of this cobblestone. Okay, I've cleaned up the room a little bit, and it is looking alright, but there's a couple glaring issues. So first of all, I moved these over a little bit so that we have this nice path. After we come downstairs, our path down the middle of the room is not hindered by anything, and I think that's going to be helpful, just for ease of moving around. The other thing though is, first of all, this is too much cobblestone. Even if we mix it up with some texture, I think this is just way too much gray. So I would like to kind of switch out a little bit of space. So like everything in this area might be a different block, and the walkways a different type of block. So we have two different types of block, and I'm not quite sure which one I'd like to be cobblestone. For now, we'll just leave it, but I'll look into some blocks that we can play around with off camera a little bit. Secondly, we have the issue of the roof. Not only is it like a little bit of a hodgepodge, there's also like gaps because we have other stuff. Like these are our crafting tables, and we are seeing the underside of them. So we need something to kind of like maybe a half slab or something to throw down to cover this up. We can't just switch out the entire ceiling again because of things like these crafting tables and whatnot that are poking down a little bit. Moving on to the task at hand, we threw down our steam machines, but I don't really have an idea of how they work. Let me go ahead and grab some coal. Just some regular ordinary coal, like 4 pieces of this stuff might be good. And we'll just try shift clicking it into the boiler, seeing where it goes and what happens. Alright, it goes into the right slot. Is this a heat meter? Perhaps. And this is where the steam in and out would come? Or is this for like buckets or something, where we throw in a bucket? I think we just have to wait for the steam meter to fill up a little bit, so I'll just keep an eye on it and come back when something changes. Okay, it doesn't look like much has changed in the GUI, but if we look at the Wayla tooltip, it's flashing small amounts of steam, and the pipes again are filling up with steam, and it looks like they're just accumulating or maybe going into the machines. Not quite sure what's up with that. But yeah, the temperature's rising, we're getting steam production. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure this is like filling up with steam properly until the buffers are all full, and then we'll look at what we can do next. Alright, so I've been watching for a while, and we are getting to the point where it's filling up the buffer here. If you take a look at the Wayla in the bottom right, you can see it's at 14,000, and it ticks up, and it does actually look like it stockpiles all the way up to 16,000 millibuckets. But watch what happens once we actually reach 16,000. That's right, it dumps it down to 12,000. So it looks like it is kind of impractical to just kind of keep fuel in here and it'll just burn when needed, because it will continuously burn and just dump the excess steam. So I'm going to go ahead and remove our coal from here, and we will just let this burn down, and whatever steam we have is whatever steam we have. In the meantime, we have 3 machines here, a macerator, a compressor, and an alloy smelter. So let's go ahead and get some stuff together and test out all of them. Alright, so things look a little different here. I've done quite a bit on this room. The first thing you'll notice is I have laid out some path in sandstone, And that just helps break up the excessive amount of gray cobblestone that we had going on. And we also put in this roof. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of the roof. I might try slabs of a different kind, but it does transition decently well from the rest of the build. I'm thinking that I might actually want to adjust something over here since I don't like this stone plank transition over here, but the rest of it looks pretty decent. Now, when I left off, there were some steam machines that we had to figure out, and I spent some time off camera doing exactly that. So first off is the steam macerator. What it does is it basically functions like a mortar and pestle. So any of the mortar and pestle things that we would do, we can do with the steam macerator. Now, there is one notable advantage to using the steam macerator on top of automation. And as you can see, we've got a simple automation setup here with hopper, chest with lighting issue, and then hopper underneath with chest. And so what the advantage of this is that it actually doubles our ore. So let's take a look at crushed redstone. In order to get crushed redstone, if we process it with a macerator, we get 10 crushed redstone ore. But if we do it with a hammer, we only get 5. So we get twice as much redstone out of using the macerator. So that's huge. For any of the harder to obtain ores that we want to process and double, this is going to be like incredibly valuable. Redstone, since we have to process it, we cannot just stick it in a furnace, means we might as well macerate it. For something like iron, it remains to be seen if it's still worthwhile to process it and like go through the processing steps of macerating twice and then washing in order to get twice as much iron, or if it's just better to mine twice as much iron at the current point of steam production that we have. So that's what the macerator does. It's incredible, and I've actually set up 2 of them. This one I'm going to be used for like automated stuff, just throw in a bunch of ores and we get doubled ores out here. And then this one, it will be more for manual usage, so that I don't have to like interrupt the ore automation setup. The next machine over here is a compressor, and it does a couple of things. Notably, one thing that it can do is it can turn wood pulp, which we get by macerating logs, into wood planks, which can be used for a variety of things, wooden tools and stuff that we don't really care about, but there's a couple other uses for it. You'll notice that we have a gap left over here, and this is something that I found out after a while, is that steam machines need an output side. So you can see this like little square and over here, not one on this side. And the reason is I have configured it with a wrench to have the output sides here. If the output side is blocked, then the machine just will not function. So I just made sure to leave spaces on either sides of the machines. We can have 2 next to each other. That's no problem because they can have output sides on opposite sides, but we cannot do 3 in a row. Now, the compressor, other than doing the wood pulp, I believe will also be used for steel later on. So it's going to be valuable, but not used all the time, at least currently. Maybe if we like ramp up steel production. Oh, it's night. Let me just... I see the mobs on the mini-map over there. That's not good. Next up, we have the alloy smelter. So the alloy smelter, what it lets us do is it lets us make a couple of alloys directly. So for example, we can make bronze in an alloy smelter with tin and copper, and we can even do it directly with ingots and we don't need to use dust, but if we want we can also throw in dust, so it's pretty nifty. However, the issue is that it takes a ton of steam, and even the quest book warns us. I've tested it out and it drains our buffer in here in a matter of seconds. Hold on, let me throw in some more coal. This was like fully buffered, our pipes were fully buffered, and it just sucked it all out. And the worst part is, if it runs out of steam, it will just continuously suck steam out of the boiler as it's coming in, but then because it's not enough steam to complete the recipe, it will abort like halfway through and it'll reset the Oh, yikes. Okay, thankfully we're all right, but this is why it's important to sleep at night. Right, we fixed it up, and thankfully the explosions didn't take out any of our machines. That would have been a disaster, but it just goes to show that it's really important to pay attention to day-night, which is a little trickier down here, so we gotta just keep an eye on the top left GUI and watch the time. Now, as I was saying, if it's got a recipe in here and it's run out of steam, it's going to abort the recipe. And then it will start sucking steam out of the boiler as fast as it's coming in, and then keep aborting it because the steam isn't coming in fast enough. So in order to properly use the alloy smelter, we're going to need to get more steam boilers or a better steam boiler or coal boiler. Now there is a quest in the quest book over here in the multi-blocks about this railcraft steam power. And we might look into this. This might provide us enough steam to properly use the alloy smelter. But until then, we're going to need to be really careful with this. And generally, I'm going to avoid using this for anything that we can get in another way. For example, bronze, it's best to just grind it up and throw it in our regular furnaces. Some of which we'll probably move down to the walls here. However, the alloy smelter does allow us to do one very important thing, and that is it lets us make these red alloy ingots, which is copper and redstone. And we've gotten a handful of these from our quests, but now we have the ability to produce them properly. So in order to do that, we'll just make sure we have a bunch of steam buffered up, and then we'll do like maybe 1 or 2 at a time, and then rebuild the buffer. The macerators are good on steam consumption. They don't take too much steam, and we can just keep this boiler running. Just throw in some more coal, and they will be perfectly fine. All right, that's it for the machines. There is one other thing, and that is these pipes, when they have steam in them, hurt to touch. So we're just gonna try to stay away from, running up right against them. We can technically fit on top of the pipe and under these slabs, but not the machines. So that's just a little bit of added safety. Not that it's too bad. They don't do too much damage. It's just a minor annoyance. Now we are about out of time for this episode. As you are all aware, it's been the holiday season over here and around the world, and I've been really busy with all of that. So I won't be able to get to too much more this episode, and we're just going to finish off with some closing thoughts. So aside from the decoration down here, I've also done a little bit of decoration on the main floor. And you will see, if you look really carefully, there's now a slight bit of texture in the wall. I've mixed in a couple different types of planks. And more noticeably, there's texture in all of the stonework, like we have going on here, as well as if we just sneak outside, around the back, and all on the sides. I just threw in some cobblestone texture, and that makes it just look a little bit nicer. In terms of progression, our next goal is very much going to be getting this bricked blast furnace to get some steel. And it takes a lot of clay, as well as some other resources like calcite and maybe quartz sand, and looks to be some, I believe there's some gypsum over here. So I'm gonna have to go and try to scrounge up these resources. Maybe I can find some of them by mining, maybe some of them are crafting, but that's kind of like the next major goal. And maybe along the way, we'll also consider getting this railcraft steam multi-block and replace our poor tiny coal boiler. And that way we can use our alloy smelter a little bit more properly. Anyway, that's all for today's episode. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode of GregTech New Horizons.